Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Cutler Bay's Town Council meeting of February 19th, 2025. If you could please take the roll for me.
Councilmember Duncan.
Here.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Here.
Councilmember Lord.
Here.
Vice Mayor Callahan.
Here,
Mayor Marbot.
present.
We have a quorum.
You all rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. You all rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That was probably the best Pledge of Allegiance we've had here in a long time. So glad you guys know it well. Thank you very much for participating. So, all right, welcome to our town council meeting. We're going to go ahead and start off. I'm going to open it up for public comments at this time. If you could please read the instructions for public comments, Mr. Clerk.
Please be advised that when joining the meeting, you are automatically muted. Welcome to tonight's meeting. The public was able to make public comments prior to the meeting, either by leaving a voicemail message or sending an email to the town clerk. There were no voicemails or emailed public comments received by the clerk's office. If you wish to speak tonight, please press *9 and the host will be alerted. Pressing *9 is known as raising your hand. Once you press *9, you will be placed in a queue to speak and will be called upon by your name or the last 3 digits of your telephone number. Please wait to be called upon. Please state your name and address. If you are a hired consultant or town employee and/or if you are engaged in lobbying activities and/or representing an organization, please provide that information before speaking. Please be sure to be in a quiet area to avoid unnecessary noise. Time limit of 3 minutes will be imposed for each speaker during public comments.
All right, thank you. Is anybody wishing to speak at this time? Anybody in the queue? No.
No one in the queue.
All right, public comments is now closed. All right, we've all submitted our town council board and committee reports. Or any additions to the reports submitted? Councilman Duncan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to broach a subject with the council and just kind of test the waters with you all. In our town's Education Advisory Committee, we have been discussing a potential scholarship that we wanted to potentially create in honor of Dr. Lalita Banyo-Paray, who we all know passed away last year. The discussions thus far are to designate a set amount of $3,000 a year, $1,500 for one student from Cutler Bay Senior High School, $1,500 for one student from Southridge Senior High School that perform admirably in community service within the town. And then that would, of course, be something that we would award at the end of each academic year. That's something that they are planning to kind of work out the details and attempt to bring it to this council. I just wanted to kind of gauge the interest in allocating that sum of money annually for 2 different scholarships for students that are contributing to the town in a community service sense, that are going to college, that will continue to follow their academic careers, and then we can support them in some capacity.
All right, and were you suggesting that comes from the community fund or from the budget?
Either whichever the council prefers.
All right, council, I think we would be in agreement and working with staff to go ahead and forward
Yeah,
the objections.
Yeah, I would just, as you go through that process, just look at the community fund, because I know that we cap at $2,500 for grants. So I don't know if that would, if we do go from the community fund, I don't know if that would take.
Yeah, if I can, at the, with the council's blessing, I'd like to work with Betty and Ralph and town staff to get that going.
Yep. Any objection? As there are none. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right. That takes us to a proclamation. Today we have in our house the Palmetto Raiders 9 and under cheerleaders team, and apparently they've deserved some accolades today. So I believe we have a proclamation for them. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Ralph, do you want to add anything to that, or?
No, I think the proclamation is going to stay for itself, but I also like to thank, Commissioner Moss and the parents and all the coaches that are here tonight. It's a great partnership with the town. I know they work closely with our Parks and Recreation Department, Etienne Bejarano, who's in attendance there. And it's just a wonderful accomplishment. And many of them, this is the first time in a council chamber, Mayor. So I told them this is your house as well. So
there you go. All right. Well, then if the council could please come down and join me to present this proclamation. Testing one. When I get a mic in my hand, I like to start singing. I apologize for that. All right. Walking much better. There you go. All right. Whereas, and by the way, I would like to note that we've seen the Palmetto Raiders in this building more times than any other organization for accolades for their championships at a state national level. So we're really, really proud of that. So, whereas the Palmetto Raiders have been a pillar in our community for positive and rewarding sports experiences for the youth of our town, which includes cheerleading and football. And whereas the 2024, the Palmetto Raiders became a charter member of the Florida Elite South Region, providing cheer squads for all different age groups. And whereas the Palmetto Raiders 2024 sophomore 9 and under cheer squad has demonstrated outstanding talent, determination, and teamwork by achieving an exceptional victory at the Florida Elite Cheer Championship held in Lakeland, Florida. And whereas the Palmetto Raiders cheer squad has not only excelled in physical fitness and competitive cheerleading, but also has contributed to the building of a sense of community, fostering respect, and encouraging positive citizenship. And whereas the accomplishment of the Palmetto Raiders 2024 sophomore 9 and under cheer squad represents the spirit of dedication and the power of teamwork led by coaches, teachers, family, friends, and participants, inspiring future generations of cheerleaders in the community. And whereas the town of Cutler Bay extends congratulations to the Palmetto Raiders 2024 sophomore 9 and under cheer squad on their remarkable achievement and victory at the Florida Elite Cheer Championship. Now therefore be resolved that I, Tim Mirbot, Mayor of the town of Cutler Bay, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the town council and citizens of Cutler Bay, call upon the good people of the town of Cutler Bay to join me in recognition of the cheer squad's accomplishments and hereby present this proclamation to the Palmetto Raiders Youth Development Club sophomore 900 cheer squad champions. Congratulations. I'm going to ask that you all come on up here so we can take a picture with you so everybody else can see your beautiful smiling faces and just help recognize you even further. All right, come on up. Oh, there's that trophy. We'll back it up as much as we can. Is there anybody that's shorter than the trophy? Okay, you're going to go in the front, okay? Are you the flyer? Mhm. Do they have flyers and things like that? Huh?
Yes, of course.
She's the flyer? Scary stuff, okay.
Everybody smile. You got a Super Bowl trophy.
All right, there you go. All right, everybody get in here. Okay, come on behind. How are you? Good to see you. Come on back in here. Squeeze in. All right. All right, on the count of 17, I want to smile. Ready? I'm kidding. Just start smiling now. Okay, you guys are champions.
Yeah. 1, 2. One more.
All right, parents, you want to come up here and get your own
Yeah,
pictures? You
yeah,
can.
yeah,
We'll
yeah.
we'll be patient.
1. 2. Hold it.
Anybody else? Stenographer? Okay, guys, congratulations. You're the best. All right. Thank you for putting in the work. Good, how are you?
They were grand champions. They had the highest score out of everyone.
Oh.
in these-
All right, I will surely mention that.
Yeah, they're taking over.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right, you guys can leave. I know you don't want to stay here all night. You got homework to do, stuff like that, but. And by the way, as they were walking out, I'd like to mention they were actually grand champions, which means they got the highest score of everybody in the competition. So not only they're the best of them. All right. That takes us to our town manager's report. So I'll turn it over to you, Ralph, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. As we do every month, we have an update from our owner's rep, Ms. Emma Jones, on our 16-acre Legacy Park and Municipal Complex. So Emma should be online.
Evening, everybody. Emma Jones with Stantec, owner's rep for the town of Cutler Bay. I will keep it short and sweet tonight. We so right now our main focus is getting through the demolition permit for the tree permit for the site, so that we can start phase 1 with the clearing of the site and the remediation of the soils, financial outlets, project, grants, etc.
Hey, Emma, you're kind of lagging a little bit. So
And
Emma, can you
I
hear
just
me?
want to sort of
Can you hear me for a second? You're lagging a
alleviate
little bit.
anyone's worries.
Emma, you're lagging a little bit. So if you could turn off your video, maybe we can get a smoother feed.
I can.
Okay. And
Yep. Is this better?
yes, that's better. Go ahead. Thank you.
Is that better?
I think so. We'll see if you start
Okay.
talking.
My apologies. All right. Okay, so the DERM, so we're working through the DERM permit, which is got to do with the tree removal on the site. And we are sorting out the finances of that, and dealing with just the payment for the remediation of the trees. Working through financials, i.e. grants, et cetera, for other funding options for the project. And while all of this is going on, we are obviously refining the various options, but we are proceeding with the design of the elements that were consistent in every option, which would be the community center and the pool. In addition, we are proceeding with the design of the surface parking and are incorporating green elements such as planted islands, as well as looking into solar covers for the parking. And the idea behind that is that if we were able to cover the surface parking with the solar, when we decide to, or have the funding to implement the parking garage in the future, we could then put those elements up on top of the parking garage, which would benefit, it would be a continued benefit to the town. And that is it.
All right. Thank you very much. Counselor, you have any questions for Emma while we have her? No, Emma, thank you very much for your update as usual.
Apologies for the lag.
Well, we just didn't get to see your face. That's all. So hopefully it'll be better the next time. So thank you again. Appreciate it. All right, Ralph, back to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Next up, we have an update for Franjo roadway improvement project, and at least a point of personal privilege. You know, Gary Rattay, a longtime engineer and partner and a good friend from Kimley-Horn, retired. So we have Stefano Viola via, I think, virtually here to make his presentation. So Stefano, no pressure. You have some big shoes to fill.
Yes, I do. Sorry, working through this the first time, getting my camera on. There we go. Apologies. Yes, Ralph has mentioned. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name's Stefano Viola, possibly a new face, as this has been Gary's role for some time now. So I do have some big shoes to fill, but Gary has set off into retirement, and I wish him well, and I will not be bothering him more than once or twice a week for the next year or two. All jokes aside. So as I jump into this, Janet, who's typically in the room, I think she had some traffic issues, so she's on virtually. I believe if we can add her as a panelist as well, because I don't think she's in the room. Miami Beach is backed up, I think, with the boat show, and she stopped somewhere off the side and is taking this call as well.
Not sure which one she is on there.
Stefano, just
give
go ahead and continue with your
Yeah.
side, and then if she gets on, she gets on. But the mayor and council, and it's also published on the agenda, they have the report as well. But if you could just summarize it.
Yep, and in worst case, I can cover hers as well. So as we go into, we are continuing to have bi-weekly meetings with town staff, with Acosta contractors, the construction crew, and Stantec design engineers. Right now, Acosta is wrapping up work zone 1, and they're looking to have it complete by early March. So that is a good thing. They're really wrapping that one up. They're continuing work in zone 2, and at that point, they are starting the streetscape work which includes the roadway or continuing the streetscape work, which is road reconstruction, concrete, such as the curbing and the driveway aprons, with the intention to be done within April. Once work zone 1 is complete here at the beginning of March, they will go into work zone 3 and start that process. So I'm excited because we are closing our first work zone, completing it up, and then they will be in work zone 2 and 3. And once April comes along, they will be full bore into work zone 3, and that's the only area at that point. At all times, we are maintaining the site clean and safe and maintaining that MOT. We will be sending out a new MOT plan that will be implemented once work zone 1 is completed. So that should be coming out here in the short future. As it relates to public information, Janet was at the, oh gosh, I went blank now. Said I would cover her. It's a Chili Fest this month. It was a good turnout. She had a substantial amount of residents meet with her. She got to talk to many people, and she was excited about that. And the residents are excited with her, keeping her up to date. And she will be attending the Wings Plus event here, Wing 5, next month. So she will continue that outreach program, and we continue to talk to residents throughout this process. We are still on schedule, and all things are good. And that is our update.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Stefano. Mayor, members of council, I also have a couple quick updates. I'll be hosting on Wednesday, February 26th from 10 to noon, our Realtors Roundtable. What we did was long overdue. We had one about maybe like 3 years ago. We reached out to the top 4 producing local realtors in town. And a lot of the folks, you know, they're very familiar with Cutler Bay, and really we just want to have like a great informal conversation with the realtors, just, you know, making sure, you know, what do they hear, the good, the bad that they hear. I mean, they're out there, you know, telling folks. I mean, we know we've reported houses that are being sold over and above market rates right across from Cutler K in the $1.8 million range. So we want to hear, you know, from realtors and get some great feedback. The department heads will be there. I'll be moderating the panel discussion. It's going to be some hopefully some great feedback. Other news, on February 27th, Thursday at 10 a.m., the long-awaited first phase 1 of South Place City Center is going to be taking place here, the groundbreaking for that. And again, that's going to be on February 27th at 10 a.m. Thursday. That is the mall redevelopment. Also, our friends from the American Planning Association, the APA, the Florida Gulf Coast chapter, have selected Cutler Bay in what they call Que Pasa in Your City, Cutler Bay, regarding the Southland Mall redevelopment. So both myself and Jared Munster, along with our communications manager, we're going to be on a Zoom virtual meeting with all the planning professionals in the Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach area. So they're highlighting the journey of the South Place City Center, which, believe it or not, as you recall, Mayor, started off with the old Cutler Ridge charrette. So it's very rare that you get to see a charrette go all the way through. So they want to highlight that in the Planning Association meeting. Also, just friendly reminder for the mayor and council, we're going to be up in Tallahassee on March the 12th through the 13th, as well as with our town attorney. We're, you know, setting up meetings. Our lobbyists are up there setting up meetings based on our priorities, and I want to let the council know that all of our projects have received what they call an attestation number, which means there's a born-on number on all our projects have been uploaded to the both the House and the Senate side. So that's some great news, and thank you, our State Representative Blanco and State Senator Calatayud. We're also working closely with our friends from South Florida Water Management District and other volunteers in town to do another restoration site at our Old Cutler Road in 184, Saturday, March 15th. From 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., where those plans should be finalized here shortly. And lastly, I know that we have been working closely with EPA. As you recall, we have applied for the $4.9 million grant. We received a letter that we did not meet the threshold. We are appealing that letter. It's actually a technicality that we're working closely with our town attorney's office as well. And I'll keep the council posted. We're actually submitted our response. The EPA reviewed our response. They want to get some clarification. We're going to provide them some more clarification, and I'll keep the council posted of those activities. We think it's just a technicality that they're looking at. Again, it's a big amount, $4.9 million. And we feel that we have a strong case. I want to thank our town attorney's office. I know Chad and Justin, one of the litigators is, we met for a couple hours today just looking at our defense. And again, we feel that we met the criteria, but I just want to keep the council posted. I'll keep you posted throughout that process. So with that, Mayor, Members of Council, that completes my report.
Thank you very much. Takes us to our town attorney's report, Mr. All right, thank you very much. Takes us to our town clerk's report.
No report this evening.
All right, moving right along then. All right, we all have the consent agenda. Is there any pulls from the consent agenda? If not, I'm looking for a motion for approval.
No pull, but
I recognize the
you're right.
recommendation.
yes,
Yeah. Any pulls on this? No? Looking for a motion to approve.
so moved.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Callahan to move forward. Looking for a second.
I second.
Seconded by Councilman Lord. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, consent agenda passes. Vice Mayor Callahan, I'd like you to look at item 5G, I'm assuming.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's a pleasure to be able to introduce my nominee for the Educational Advisory Committee, Brooke DeMello Gomes, individual who's been very active in the community. I'm sure many of you are familiar with her activities within the community. But her experience within the educational system is outstanding. Currently, the upper school dean of students at Palmer Trinity. She was a science department chair at Palmer. Long history in the educational system. One of the things that did strike me about her resume is that she has a Bachelor of Arts in Chemistry from FIU, was a science teacher, but also had extensive coursework in forensic science. And what I found interesting about that is our high school and our middle school both have criminal justice programs within them. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for Brooke's work to help in those particular areas. So with that, I'd like Brooke to come up and introduce herself and say a few words.
Good evening, Council. Thank you, Vice Mayor. It is my privilege to serve on the Educational Advisory Committee. This past week, I came to the meeting as a citizen and enjoyed hearing from all the principals of schools within Cutler Bay and serving Cutler Bay residents. And it was really exciting to hear all the activities and exciting opportunities given to our youth in the schools. And I look forward to working with them.
All right. Thank you very much. Welcome to the committee. All right. That takes us to our quasi-judicial hearing. So Mitch, if you would like to go ahead and open us up on this for these items.
The quasi-judicial state.
Is your mic on? Is your mic on?
Thank you.
Okay.
I was gonna. Please be advised that the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment on any of these items, please indicate in the agenda the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity to speak on each item will be afforded to individuals after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request that the council ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item, the town code of ordinances, and the town comprehensive plan is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedure may be obtained from the clerk. Any lobbyists must register before addressing the council on any of the quasi-judicial items. Pursuant to section 2-237 of the Town Code of Ordinances, All applicants are required to disclose on the record whether any consideration, monetary or otherwise, has been paid or offered to or requested by any person or entity in exchange for any promise or agreement to support, oppose, or refrain from supporting or opposing any quasi-judicial agenda item or application. The disclosure shall include the person or entity to which such consideration was paid or offered, or by which such request was made, whether the consideration was received, and the position such person or entity agreed or promised to take. This time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify on any quasi-judicial item.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Thank you.
The town clerk, okay, ex parte communication disclosure. The town clerk shall confirm receipt of any ex parte communication disclosures that were received prior to this public hearing. Members of the council should disclose any ex parte communications that have not been disclosed for the record previously.
Any disclosures from the clerk? No? Okay, there are none. All right, and we can take all these items A through D together collectively, Mr. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, Ralph, sir, turn it over to you.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. Marisa, if you could read all 4 items into the record, please.
Item 5A, a resolution, 6A, sorry. A resolution of the mayor and the town council of the town of Cutler Bay, Florida, approving a variance application by Taco Bell of America LLC to reduce required building frontage ratios along primary frontages for a new restaurant located at 18407 South Dixie Highway and providing for an effective date. 6B, a resolution of the mayor and the town council of the town of Cutler Bay, Florida, approving a variance application by Taco Bell of America LLC to allow a building facade height of 21 feet where a minimum building facade height of 25 feet is required for a new restaurant located at 18407 South Dixie Highway and providing for an effective date. 6C, a resolution of the mayor and the town council of the town of Cutler Bay, Florida, approving a variance application by Taco Bell of America LLC to permit a 1-story building where a minimum of 2 stories are required on lots greater than 3 acres in size for a restaurant located at 18407 South Dixie Highway and providing for an effective date. 6D, a resolution of the mayor and the town council of the town of Cutler Bay, Florida, approving a site plan by Taco Bell of America LLC to permit the construction of a new restaurant with outdoor seating and drive-through service on property located at 18407 South Dixie Highway and providing for an effective date.
Thank you very much, Ralph, sir.
Thank you, members of council. Tonight we have our community development director, Jared Munster, virtually, and then we also have Miss Kristen Nowinski from one of our consultants, planning consultants from WGI Inc. So, Jared?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Town Council. The applications before the council this evening consist of 3 variance requests and a site plan approval request for the demolition and reconstruction of the existing Taco Bell restaurant at 18407 South Dixie Highway. As required by the town code, this project was presented at a zoning workshop on June 13th, 2024, and is before the council tonight for final site plan approval. Notice of tonight's hearing was published in the Miami Herald on February 9th. Courtesy notices were mailed to 332 property owners within 1,000 feet of the site on February 10th, and signs were posted at the site on February 11th. Kristen Nowicki from WGI is the consulting planner on this application and will be presenting additional details about the variance and site plan requests. The applicant is also present and will provide a brief presentation and will be available for any follow-up questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Kristen Nowicki with WGI. We're the consulting planners who did the review of this application. So just give you a couple quick points and then we'll turn it over to the applicant to give you all the details of the project. As it is an existing Taco Bell being replaced by another Taco Bell, new building, going to follow the new code. And at the time the existing building was constructed was actually before Cutler Bay was Cutler Bay. So the new building also meeting the new code, some new design requirements that wouldn't have been in an older code is where we get 3 variances. So we did do the review of all three variances as well as the site plan application and did find that all of them do meet the standards in your land development regulations to be approved. The first one being the frontage ratio. This site is a much larger shopping center. However, it is being reviewed more as just the leased space for the specific restaurant. And being that it is a restaurant with a drive-through, having the drive-through along the side of the building does make it very difficult for that to be completely meeting the 100% frontage. So they also have some outside seating, which is another part of that space, and of course, parking. The second item B, the variance for height, B and C are actually very similar. The first one being height in feet, requiring 25, and they are just short of that at 21. But a type of restaurant like this wouldn't typically be 2 stories, which then takes me to that third variance. The facade height in the requirement of 2 stories where they are meeting 1. To be more specific, the second story would have to be at least 8 feet in order for it to count as a story. So they are what might feel like 2 stories in their design, but it is actually only counting as 1 per your code. And then finally, the site plan itself. This is actually a slightly smaller footprint than the existing building, about 200 square feet smaller. And the drive-through will have the 2 pickup windows with stacking for 11 cars where 6 are required. So it kind of helps a little bit with any of the backing up that would kind of spill out into the rest of the shopping center area. 17 parking spaces are proposed where 14 are required. So they are exceeding that requirement as well. And your growth management plan as well as land development regulations do allow restaurants in this location, including the outdoor seating. There is also a continued access, the cross access between the 2 restaurants in the front, as well as to the rest of the shopping center. All of that is maintained, but there's just a slight modification of the exact site where the building is now compared to how it will be proposed when it's rebuilt. But overall, we do recommend approval subject to the 3 variances being approved. And then of course, subject to all of the conditions of approval that are in the resolution that you have in your packet. So I'm available for any questions. Thank you. Turn it over to.
Before I go to the council, I'm going to go ahead and open this up for a public hearing. So any member of the public wishing to speak on this item, please come forward. All right, as there are none, this public hearing is now closed. Turn it over to the council for questions or comments. Vice Mayor Callahan, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just questions to somebody?
Mr. Mayor, if I may note, before questions begin, the applicants, I believe, are prepared to provide a short presentation.
I'd like to go ahead and see that then, yes, real quick. Vice Mayor, if you don't mind, just you have a presentation, yeah?
Yes, I do, and I will try to keep it brief. Good evening. My name is Alessandra Sandermal with law offices located 701 Brickell Avenue. With me this evening is my colleague Joe Goldstein, as well as Sarah Dowling and Frank Youngman as part of our group. Before you tonight are 4 separate requests for the proposed Taco Bell redevelopment located at 18407 South Dixie Highway. Specifically, the applicant is requesting site plan review and approval, as well as non-use variances in order to comply with the town's land development regulations. As mentioned in the presentation, the non-use variances pertain to the minimum facade height, building lot frontage, and the minimum stories required. As previously mentioned, the property is currently located again at 18407 South Dixie Highway, just within that planned shopping center known as Cutler Bay South Dade Shopping Center. The property itself is approximately 0.638 acres in size, but it's part of that larger 27-acre shopping center. The property is designated mixed use on the town's future land use map and TRC or transit corridor on the town's official zoning map. The Taco Bell currently on the property was built and has been operating since 1990. It currently leases a 2,359 square foot building of the 228,890 square feet of the shopping center. The applicant is proposing to demolish and rebuild the Taco Bell drive-through restaurant on the property. The proposed building is nearly the same as the existing building, except that it has a slightly smaller footprint than the existing Taco Bell with approximately 2,187 square feet. Additionally, one very noteworthy difference is that it will feature an outdoor seating area along South Dixie Highway. The new outdoor seating area and modern design will enhance the visual experience for both pedestrian users and vehicular traffic along Dixie Highway. Overall, the applicant is proposing this redeveloped Taco Bell to enhance the aesthetic appearance, provide more modern architecture, and activate the front of the building with, again, that outdoor seating area as well as artwork. In order to achieve these goals, again, we are requesting those 3 variances. More specifically, the minimum facade height and the minimum stories variance request stem from the code having to have at least 25 feet in height, as well as 2 stories on the parcels that are greater than 3 acres in size within this transit corridor district. The proposed restaurant use, typically, as mentioned in the prior presentation, it does not contemplate 2 stories. However, the applicant is proposing a little bit taller than normal 1-story building with enhanced design elements to remain consistent with the appearance of the existing shopping center. Additionally, the applicant is requesting a variance for the required 100% building lot frontage in order, again, to provide that outdoor seating area that will provide aesthetic enhancements to the site and contribute to a sense of pedestrianism and community. All in all, we believe that the proposal not only enhances the site in comparison to what exists today, but it also activates that front of the building, particularly along a very main thoroughfare, to create a better dining experience for patrons. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have. We urge you to approve the request per staff's recommendation. Thank you, and I'd like to reserve time for rebuttal if necessary.
All right, thank you very much. Again, I'll turn it over to Vice Mayor Callahan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The first thing I have is just a clarification on the presentation that was submitted by Holland and Knight. It shows the Taco Bell sign above the building, but yet the renderings do not show that. So is that just?
It was just a sample from another site, but that there won't be a Taco Bell sign on the top of the building.
Just want to make sure that. Continuing with the questions on the signs, I guess is more for staff too. My understanding was that the signs were only allowed on 2 faces of the building. And according to the drawings that I saw and counted, it looks like there was at least 3 signs.
Okay, I'll Jared, if you could either answer that or Kristen. Jared?
Absolutely. You are correct, Vice Mayor, that because of the way that this building is situated, we would treat it as a corner because of the entry driveway of the shopping center and the South Dixie frontage. So they would be allowed 2 signs. If there are any additional signs shown on the renderings, that is not, essentially that's not part of this approval. We do have a condition that's standard in all of our site plans that signage must be in compliance with the town code.
But they're asking us to approve a site plan, and we have a site plan and information before us that shows multiple signs on the facade.
Alessandra, I don't know if you could speak to the specifics of that 3rd sign that may be shown there.
There's a 3rd sign, there's a logo.
I confirmed with our architect, we're doing 2 signs. It was just an example.
It was just an example.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Also, and I apologize because I forgot to bring the LDRs, but if I remember correctly, we had some restrictions around glass, right? It had to be, I think that glass, there had to be a certain bottom that had to be like concrete or something, that glass couldn't go from the bottom to the top. And again, I apologize because I should have brought the LDR, but I know because I wrote it. Is there, Jared, do you have clarification on that? Does this frontage meet those LDRs?
I'm going to ask Kristen to verify that there in person. But what I can tell you is that, yes, it should. The requirement is that the windows can't start any lower than 18 inches from the floor level. So it would have to meet that 18-inch requirement. And As that was not a review comment that was outstanding in any way, I am going to believe that it complies, but Kristen was the reviewer, so she can speak to the specifics.
Hi. We did look at all of the design requirements and believe that it was in compliance. Anything that we did have a question on, we reached out and made a comment, so that I don't remember commenting on this particular detail, so we believe it does in.
Well, I know we believe and it does are two different things. So I don't want to approve a site plan if this glass is not in compliance. I mean, again, we don't have architectural prints before us. What we have is renderings. And so, I mean, we're asked to approve site plans and to approve variances, but yet I'm looking at stuff that doesn't appear to meet what our LDRs are.
Yeah, they have the plan. Because we can just confirm it. But I know that, I don't recall this being a comment. That's why I believe it meets it. And Jared.
Would this after this approval would go through permitting process?
Yes, Vice Mayor will. That's why Jared made the comment that we'll have a catch-all phrase there that it must comply. I mean, again, it's a site plan process here.
Okay.
So I don't know if they spell out in the site plan it's 18 inches from the bottom, but it'll have to comply with our code through the permitting process when they had the approved plans.
Okay, I just want to point these things out to make sure that they're on the record and that if, that we catch them. My next comment is on the landscaping on LP1. There seems to be a lot of trees for credit, and my assumption is that those trees would have to be demoed as part of the entire demo process, right? And then credited back for the new canopy.
That's correct. So we have 25 trees that will be planted on the site, and I will tell you exactly how many are to remain. So 15 of the 17 existing trees are proposed to remain, plus 3 palm trees were removed prior to the arborist site visit. All will be replaced, and that's where you're seeing the credit numbers.
Okay.
Yep.
And I did look at the tree inventory, and it does look like from what I can see that it does meet because we require native trees. Anytime that we're asked to approve shopping center renovations or buildings within shopping centers, one of the biggest sticking point when we get to the landscaping and islands, right, is that we tend to put large trees, right, because they tend to meet the canopy coverage easier, right, in these islands. And then what happens is in a year or 2 years from now, these trees grow because that's what trees do, right? And now the next thing we know, we have roots that are cracking up the islands. We have them digging through the parking lot. And then what happens is that the owners get mad at the trees because they're destroying the parking lot. And so we go and cut the trees down so we can fix the parking lot, right? So the live oaks and specifically black olives, I have a huge concern about being planted in specific islands that have the potential of 2 to 3 years from now causing this kind of problem. And, the last thing we want to do is be cutting down trees in 3 or 4 years because they distorted a parking lot when we have the opportunity to be able to solve it prior to, construction.
Understood. We're more than happy to replace it with trees that work best for the town. We understand that live oak and the black olives could be a potential concern, so we'll look at alternatives that are in conjunction with the code requirements to make sure that we'll avoid any future concerns with those trees.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank
That's
you.
all I have.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from the council? No? All right. All right. Well, Councilman Lord, you're recognized.
How long generally is this construction going to take?
Three to 4 months.
From start to finish, demo to end? Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's really fast. I like the idea that you guys are going to be stacking the drive-through because I've been stuck not in that drive-through, but in that shopping center. So thank you for that.
All right. Any other questions or comments? No? All right. With that, again, we're going to take all the items up separately for votes. So first looking for a motion on item A.
So move.
We have a motion by Councilman Lord, looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman
Okay.
Bell, sorry, Duncan. Sorry. I'm like, well, I'm thinking Taco Bell. Sorry. It's been on my mind ever since. This explains how the rappers get in my car every morning. Anyway, all right, and a second by Councilman Duncan. This is a, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lord,
Yes.
Councilmember Duncan,
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Callahan,
Yes.
Mayor Mairbach.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, item 6B. Looking for motion on item 6B.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Ramirez, second by Councilwoman Lord. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Duncan,
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez,
Yes.
Councilmember Lord,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Callahan,
Yes.
Mayor Mairbach.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, item 6C, looking for a motion.
So moved.
A motion by Vice Mayor Callahan on item 6C, looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Lord. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Ramirez,
Yes.
Councilmember Lord,
Yes.
Councilmember Duncan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Callahan,
Yes.
Mayor Mairbach.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, item 6D, looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Ramirez, looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Duncan. By Councilman Duncan, sorry. All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lord,
Yes.
Councilmember Duncan,
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Callahan,
Yes.
Mayor Mairbach.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, those motions pass. Now we can
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Now just keep those wrappers out of my car somehow if they get there. I don't know how that happens. All right. That takes us to public comments. So I'm now opening the floor for public comments. Anyone wish to speak at this time? Is there anybody in the queue?
No one in the queue.
All right, public comments is now closed. That takes us to a resolution 11A. If you could read a resolution 11A, please.
A resolution of the mayor and the town council of the town of Cutler Bay, Florida, amending the town's advisory board rules of procedure relating to board member qualifications and term limits, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
All right, and this is sponsored by Vice Mayor Callahan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The item before you is a resolution to amend the advisory board rules of procedure regarding the floodplain mitigation committee. As you know, that a number of years back when we actually adopted the advisory board, we put term limits in for committees. Somehow at the time, the floodplain mitigation committee was supposed to have been exempt from that because of the requirements by the bylaws of that particular committee, but it was not, and we had caught this at our last meeting. So this resolution basically just amends that. So the floodplain mitigation committee is exempt from the term limits by bylaw.
Okay, that really makes sense. Council, do you have questions or concerns on this? You know, I would agree. The expertise needed for that committee is it's much different and it's harder to find qualified applicants. So I'm certainly in favor of that. So with that, I'm looking for a motion for approval.
So
moved.
All right, we have a motion by Vice Mayor Callahan, a second by Councilman Lord. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B11B, please.
A resolution of the mayor and the town council of the town of Cutler Bay, Florida, making findings and designating real property generally located on Southwest 210th Street, east of Southwest 81st Place, south of Southwest 208th Street, and west of hypothetical Southwest 79th Avenue, and identified by folio number 36-6010-000-0030 as a brownfield area pursuant to section 376.80 Florida statutes for purposes of environmental rehabilitation, job creation, and economic development, providing for authorization and providing for an effective date.
All right, Ralph, sir.
Thank you, members of council. Tonight we have Jared Munsters who's going to present this item, and we also have the applicant here as well. Jared? You're on mute, Jared.
I'm just talking away. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Manager, and good evening again, Mr. Mayor and Council. The application before the council this evening is to designate the Saga South Green Reuse Area. This is an application in accordance with section 376.08 of Florida statutes to designate a 20-acre parcel at 8165 Southwest 10th Street as a brownfield to promote environmental rehabilitation of the site in accordance with orders from DERM and standards for remediation of contaminants. Cleanup of the site has been in progress for a number of months. As of last month, The owners have removed nearly 300 discarded tires, which were disposed of through a tire recycling company, removed 3,000 cubic yards of soil, and 1,500 cubic yards of concrete and stone debris. No redevelopment plans have been submitted to the town for review as of yet, and any future development proposals will require site plan approval through the council. Notice of tonight's hearing was published in the Miami Herald on February 9th. Courtesy notices were mailed on February 10th to 611 property owners within 1,000 feet of the site, and signs were posted at the site on February 11th. As one additional note, although this is a resolution, the item will be back before the council again next month. The state statute governing this designation process requires 2 public hearings. The applicant is present and has prepared a presentation, and he will be available for any follow-up questions of the council.
Anything else? No. All right, I'm going to open this hearing item up for public hearing this time. Anybody wishing to speak, come forward. There is none. Public hearing is now closed. Do we need the applicant to present or are we good?
Yep, the applicant's here to present. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council and town staff. My name is Brett Brummond with the Goldstein Environmental Law Firm. We have offices at 2100 Ponce de Leon Boulevard in Coral Gables, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Saga South Development Incorporated. And I do have a presentation, a very brief one. Oh, some of the pictures are missing from the first slide. I apologize. So I know this council is familiar with Florida's Brownfields Redevelopment Program, but as a refresher, there are 2 key definitions I'll point out. The first is a brownfield site, which is real property, the expansion, redevelopment, or reuse of which may be complicated by actual or perceived environmental contamination. And the second is a brownfield area, which is what this council would create by resolution if the resolution is adopted at the next hearing. And that is a contiguous area of 1 or more brownfield sites, some of which may not be contaminated and which has been designated by a local government by resolution. The property is, as Mr. Munster mentioned, is located at 8165 Southwest 210th Street. It is a single parcel, roughly 20 acres in size, with about 5 upland acres, and the rest are currently wetlands. The applicant is proposing to develop a multifamily residential development with a mixture of townhomes and apartments, as well as some accessory uses that they intend to discuss with town staff prior to submitting a development plan. And these accessory uses will also include uses that support town needs. The applicant also intends to improve area streetscapes with additional lighting and sidewalk improvements. The property is located in a neighborhood residential zoning district with a future land use designation of residential conservation and medium density. And as Mr. Munster mentioned, the current development plan is conceptual, has not been submitted to the town yet for approval, but that will be coming relatively soon. The applicant has engaged DPZ Co-Design to work on the site plan application. And I'll also add that this designation does not grant development approvals. And while this is still in the concept phases, the designation is intended to provide a key step, it's intended to be a key step to provide the owner comfort that they can continue to address the environmental conditions at the property, both in advance and during redevelopment with the support of the Florida Brownfields program. So looking at the environmental issues at the site, there's a history of unpermitted dumping starting back in the late 1980s and early 1990s. This was caught by Miami-Dade County DERM in the early 90s, and the debris dumped there so far discovered has been found to be mostly construction and demolition material, miscellaneous trash consisting of plastics, pipes, and household waste, vegetative waste as well, and a lot of tires buried out in the upland areas as well as scattered throughout the wetland areas of the property. So the current property owner has developed a corrective action plan with Miami-Dade County DERM that they are in the process of implementing. Miami-Dade County DERM has also approved a soil management plan as well as a sampling plan for what's called the recovered screen material that is being generated from the trash removal. The contaminants that are identified here are very typical of an unpermitted dump site. We're seeing petroleum products, volatile organic compounds, pesticides, and metals, including arsenic, aluminum, iron, and lead that are above regulatory criteria. So as Mr. Munster mentioned, site rehabilitation is in progress. The applicant has provided a recent update to town staff but we have several thousand cubic yards of soil and about 1,500 cubic yards of concrete and stone have been excavated and screened in the upland areas of the property. About 300 tires have been removed, and the recovered screen material, which is the soil material that's generated after you run everything through a sifter, that is being sampled periodically to determine how and if it can be reused on the property. If contaminant levels in that recovered screen material are above certain criteria that would prevent it from being reused on the site, it will be exported off-site for disposal. So Florida statutes establishes 5 criteria for designation. The statute states that if the applicant can satisfy these 5 criteria, the local government shall adopt the resolution. But I'll touch on each very briefly, and I'll be available for any questions. As to the first criterion, the applicant is the property owner. They do have a redevelopment plan that they will be submitting to the town for approval. And the applicant isn't currently in the process of rehabilitating the site under DERM's oversight. As to the second, the redevelopment being multifamily residential will, with some accessory uses, will result in economic productivity. The applicant does expect to create at least or up to 10 jobs at the site. The project will also include some mangrove wetland conservation area. The statute does exempt these types of projects from the job creation requirement, but the applicant does expect to create up to 10 jobs at the completed development. Third, the redevelopment as currently proposed is consistent with the neighborhood residential zoning district requirements and the medium density residential future land use designation. Of course, the development plan will be submitted to the town for approval as soon as the site plan application package is prepared. As for the fourth, notice has been provided to neighbors and nearby residents in accordance with statutory requirements. The applicant is also holding a community meeting on March 4th at the Cornerstone Church across from the town's new Legacy Park project from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And that'll have provide an additional opportunity for comments and suggestions about the rehabilitation. That community meeting will also be noticed separately through a sign posted at the property and notice published in the Miami Herald and the Miami New Times. And finally, the applicant has provided reasonable assurance that they have financial resources to complete the project through a letter certifying as such. So it's provided with the application package. This is also bolstered by the applicant's start of the rehabilitation work, mobilizing equipment to the site, and continuing to submit monthly operating reports to DERM showing that they have the ability to continue doing the cleanup work. And I'll also add, as this council knows very well, that the Brownfields program does require the owner to pay for these cleanup costs up front. It's not a grant program where you apply, then have to wait for the funding to come in before you do the work. And if the funding runs out, you stop the work. The applicant must continually do the work and then submit an application for partial reimbursement of those costs at the end of every year. With that, I am available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Council questions. So Councilman Duncan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This would be more of a question for Jared. With designating this a potential brownfield site, is there any negative impact on the property owners around the site, such as with property values or any other negative effects that might have or that they might incur if this is to proceed?
There are none that we're aware of. Certainly, I'm going to defer to Brett for any statistics that he may be aware of in Mr. Goldstein's practice. But truly, this is a recognition of the current state of the property and opens the door for, potential funding or potential reimbursement, I should say, for the costs associated with cleaning up what's there. This is not in any way intended to, penalize this property or any other property. This is simply a recognition of the current condition and opening doors for remediating it.
And if I could also add, the program, the name of the program doesn't work in its favor. As we know, we have the option to name this site anything other than a brownfield site. So in recognition of the cleanup that is happening, because currently it is a contaminated site with buried solid waste that is going to be removed, the contamination is going to be addressed. So we propose calling this a green reuse area, similar to how the town has chosen to name their own brownfield site, the Care Zone, which reflects the work that is going in to improve the property and make it really an asset for the community instead of being the vacant, underutilized site that it currently is. And I'll also add there are some data out there, some studies that have been conducted by EPA and others that show the effect of a brownfield redevelopment, focusing mainly on the effect of cleaning up a contaminated site and developing something on it that is beneficial to the community that has tended to increase property values in the area rather than decrease property values.
All right, thank you.
Vice Mayor Callen, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. If I remember correctly, did this come before us before?
Yes, Vice Mayor. In fact, I was going to save my comments to the end. This is probably the third property owner that has attempted to do this, and I applaud, the current property owner for that, because one time they actually came before us for a site plan, and they had some problem with financing at that point. So again, I think Brett's client's like the third one, and I applaud them, because that is costing them a fortune right now to clean up. That was our #1 dump site in the town. 300 tires in the middle of the wetlands, C&D material in the middle of the wetlands. I know it's a breath of fresh air for even our friends in Miami-Dade County, Durham, who are out there looking at the wetland delineation line. When it comes to the site plan, there's going to be some really strict criteria. So yes, Vice Mayor, you've seen this property before. It just, the fundings never came to them. But I think this owner now is committed. You can see what the number of tonnage that's been removed and the cost. I think both myself and the mayor received emails from residents. Hey, they're doing construction. No, they're actually doing environmental cleanup. So again, the site plan will come before us, but yes, Vice Mayor, we've seen this at least one time.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I certainly, I certainly appreciate the owner cleaning up the property, but my concern today is what my concern was the last 3 times, right? And that's the development of this property. It encroaches on the wetlands, right? Obviously there's not a site plan, but that continues to be a huge concern of mine as this develops way close to the wetlands. There has been nothing that has been able to reassure me that any development on that land outside of the cleanup would not harm the adjacent wetlands and so forth. And I'm not going to be in favor of anything on that particular property outside of the cleanup, and just because of the adjacent to the wetlands.
All right, Councilman Lord, you're recognized.
Thank you for your presentation. You mentioned that there is a meeting on March 4th at 6:30 at Cornerstone Church. That's a public information meeting?
Correct, yes.
I missed that part. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, we're calling it a community meeting. We'll be there from 6:30 to 7:30 to present a very similar presentation to what I presented here today, just to go over the history of the site, the contaminants present, what's being done to address those contaminants, and a broad overview of the redevelopment plan.
Thank you for doing that for our residents.
You're welcome.
All right, any other comments? Councilman Ramirez.
I just want to confirm on this. The actual cleanup's only going to be about 5 acres on that total 20-acre parcel, or is it going to actually how close to invading the wetlands, or do we have to do anything in the wetlands as part of the cleanup?
The wetland does need to be cleaned up. That is the applicant has agreed to that with Miami-Dade County, Durham. That'll have to be done very carefully. So I think the proposal right now is to hand pull whatever trash that can be pulled from the mangroves to the extent possible. But the goal is to remove that trash, because that trash could be sitting in seawater, leaching contaminants. So if any more intensive work needs to be done to remove that trash, or if it does need to be removed without damaging the wetlands, permits will be necessary for that. But that's something that the applicant will discuss with Durham when the time comes to reach that phase of the cleanup.
All right, thank you.
And remember, the council, if I could add, and Brett could probably attest to it too, because I know our code compliance officers have been out there with Miami-Dade County Durham inspectors. So the inspectors are literally on site, doing periodic inspections of the cleanup because of the proximity to the wetlands, and because a lot of the contamination is within the wetlands. And like Brett said, you can't get mechanical equipment there. It's like all hand carried items there. So I'm sure there's a lot of Durham inspectors that are aware of the site.
Just one question. If you weren't developing, would there be any incentive for you to clean this site up?
If we weren't developing the site, the cleanup is a major component, or the development is a major component of the cleanup. The site does need to be raised to make it developable. So this, the cleanup does generate some excess fill that can be used to raise the grade of the developable areas of the site. Also, if there was not an economic motive to develop the site, the cleanup likely would not happen. There's, of course, anybody could develop, clean up a site for a park use, but for a private property owner, for a private developer, the Brownfields program is specifically designed to incentivize the cleanup and reuse of that site, since it does have a history of being used as a dump site.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? All right. All right, with that, again, this item it requires two hearings to go on it. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve or deny.
I move to approve.
Motion for Councilman Lord to approve, looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Ramirez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No.
Opposed? No. And the item passes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes our agenda items. I just wanted to bring one final item up that I'd like to discuss. You know, currently, the law requires us to keep a certain amount of reserves for, you know, when the economy downturns or whatever it may be. In our case of Cutler Bay, it's like actually a 17% of your budget needs to be reserved to provide sufficient cash flow for financial needs, other things like that. And right now that for Cutler Bay, that's $4.3 million. As of last year's fiscal audit, we currently have $26 million in our fund balance, which is very, very healthy. Now that's a great thing because that helps them improve our bond rating. With our bond rating, it makes it cheaper for us to borrow money to do things such as acquire green property space and protect the environment, build parks, or whatever it may be. So, you know, that's a very good thing. Now, currently, we have an obligation bond out there. We have about 32 million of the 37 million available. We have, I think, designated about $6 million to take care of the cleanup of the Legacy Park area. And another 6.5 million is coming from the ARPA funds to match that. So what I'm proposing is this. I think it's great to have a reserve amount higher than what the state requires us. So what I'm proposing is that we work with our town staff to go ahead and set the minimum limit higher at 20%, which gives us more security, but also that we look and consider of maybe setting an upward limit as well. And anything and above that upward limit that we would use to go ahead to fund land acquisition. Hypothetically, you know, if there's any more land that maybe somebody didn't want to develop, we could come in and make it another park, or we could do capital improvements on the parks that we already have. How many times have we seen where, you know, we have pump failures or pool failures or things like that, where we're like, where do you get that money from? So this really allows us for taking advantage of when there are good times and strong times, and when our surplus is getting stronger. How strong do we want that to be? And let us use that money for other things. I think Vice Mayor Callahan mentioned that at that last meeting briefly, and it's been something that's been on my mind for a long time as well. All the myriad of uses so I would like to go ahead and work with the town manager and staff to develop an ordinance that I could bring before you all, which would allow us to do just that, make us stronger at the bottom, but also make sure that if we go and above which are strong reserves, that we use that to improve the town when we have the opportunity to. Back in 2006, the property values took a dump, and many of the communities were in severe trouble. And that's why you have to keep that minimum reserve. So I want to look at the bottom and at the top. I think it makes sense. So if there's no objection from the council, I'd like to instruct them to move forward with that. So, all right, Ralph, you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one little quick minor correction. The 17% that we have set as our minimum fund balance, which you reflect is is $4.3 million out of the, we have $26 million in the fund balance reserve. That's a self-imposed minimum. I think you mentioned state, but that's self-imposed. A lot of cities don't have the luxury of having that 17%. In fact, that 17% is, I call it the gold standard for the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA. So I just want to just clarify that because we have a high standard already, but that's
Right.
self-imposed, not the
I
state.
do recall, I was actually here when we set that back in 2015. So, all right, well, you have the direction of the council, so if you work on that, so we can bring it forward at our next meeting, that would be appreciated. Are there any other items, comments, concerns? So, all right, with that, this meeting is adjourned.